Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy day after the big snowstorm here on the East Coast. It is Tuesday, March 4. Good to see you this morning. It's the Bill Press Show. Welcome, whether you're watching on Free Speech TV or on a video stream, TawkrTV. Good to have you with us this morning. Reaching out to you with all the news of the day and inviting you to send us your comments by phone at 866-55-PRESS. On Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook. Join our friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Well, the Russian troops continue to occupy Crimea. Vladimir Putin not backing down. In fact, he is sending in more troops, and there is fear that Russia may try to seize even more territory in the Ukraine, not just the Crimean Peninsula. Meanwhile, President Obama has called for tough economic sanctions against Russia, but the UK and the Netherlands and Germany have said, no, we think that's going too far, and without the help of Europe, there's no way that the United States alone can put enough pressure on Vladimir Putin to force him to change course. Meanwhile, back here at home, Disney becomes the latest company to break its ties with the Boy Scouts, saying it's no longer going to give money to the Boy Scouts because of their anti-gay policy. Two leading former Republican senators, Alan Simpson of Wyoming and Nancy Kassenbaum from Kansas, have broken with the Republican Party, saying the party is wrong on same-sex marriage. They have filed an amicus brief to overturn bans against same-sex marriage in Utah and Oklahoma. And here in the Mid-Atlantic, we are digging out Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Richmond, digging out from yesterday's great big snowstorm. And the Pope, we knew we loved this guy. Here's another reason to love him. Yesterday, he dropped the F-bomb. Well, accidentally, but he still dropped the F-bomb. All of that coming up and more on this morning's edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have Pep Talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma.
Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
All options are open on the Ukraine. Hey, he invaded the country. What more can he do? Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, March 4. How about it? Great to see you today. Glad you're up and at 'em early, as are we, because there's a lot to catch up on today here around the world, here in Washington, D.C., around the globe. We survived the Titan. We survived the 23rd snowstorm of the season that somebody counted yesterday. I don't know whether that's an accurate count or not. It feels like it, and they're saying we may get another one next week. Oh, my God. At any rate, we will rise above the snow and sleet and bring you the news of the day and look forward to hearing from you what it all means to you and how it impacts you and your family and what's going on and your community. You know how to do it. On your local Progressive Talk radio station, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. And don't forget to support those great local stations and the sponsors that you hear hawking their products and talking about their products on those stations are good sponsors. We love seeing you also on Free Speech TV. If you've got a satellite dish, you can catch us on DirecTV or the Dish Network. More and more people going to DirecTV. I've seen a lot of ads for DirecTV lately. Yeah, and see a lot of those little discs up on top of roofs, even in the big cities. And, of course, all around the world, we welcome you and embrace you wherever you happen to be on the planet. If you're watching our video stream, what fun. If you're in the Ukraine and you're in Belarus, you don't have to go out and protest in the streets. You can watch the Bill Press Show at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Good morning.
All right. Make it in okay?
No, made it in.
No
yeah, not too bad today.
No slipping and sliding?
Minimal slipping and sliding this morning.
Good.
It's still not great out there.
I'm surprised the roads are not more clear than they are.
I am too,
I have
honestly.
not driven at all. Didn't have to. And I went out yesterday around noontime, called, made sure they were open, walked down to the bank, and I had the streets to myself. Walked down the middle of the street. There were no cars out at all. Middle of the day. It was amazing.
The highways weren't so bad this morning anyway. Mm-hmm. Yesterday going home were kind of rough. The Parkway, which is a major artery, is still kind of a mess.
Is it?
It was pretty slow going this morning, so I can't imagine what rush hour is going to be like
Wow. And Alicia Cruz is here, made it in today. Welcome back, Alicia. And Cyprian Balding. I mean, he's there. He's on the job. You know, he's
always here.
Always count on him. Got the cameras and the lights on. And here we are on our video stream and on Free Speech TV. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I guess the moral is you can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a bad man down either. Rob Ford, he's not giving up. He's running for re-election. We know the embattled mayor of Toronto, the crackhead. And he was down in New York last night appearing with Jimmy Kimmel and talking about, he's known for this. Remember, we've had the reporter on for a couple of reporters from Toronto. Well, I can't say it the way he says it. We say Toronto.
Toronto.
He says it a little differently.
Toronto.
But he's known the whole time he's been in public life on the city council and as mayor, he hands out his own cell phone. Says, "Call me. You got a pothole? Call my cell phone."
I give my number out because you're the boss. And when you say jump, I say how high. The taxpayers here want service, and I don't believe in going through all the bureaucrats. Call Rob Ford. I guarantee I'll return your call, and I'll go right to your front door to serve you. I've been doing it for 14 years.
Realistically, how high can you jump?
Trust me. Now, you'd be surprised how fast I can move.
That's a great
I'm pretty sure he can move pretty quickly. Like, hey, Rob, the cops are here. Taking off.
And, you know, he has apologized and apologized and apologized. And he say, no, but, you know, ain't no mo.
I mean, you have to apologize a lot, right? I mean, more than most people.
I've had to a couple of times, but you know what? The apologies are over. I'm moving on. People are going to judge me on a proven track record, and that's why I'm down here where I want people to come to Toronto. See how good Toronto is? We have the TIFF.
Toronto is a great city.
Toronto. Come to Toronto. Terrano. Toronto. That's the way you spell it. Right. But, you know, I think he's doing the right thing. No more apologies. Just move on. You know what I've done as mayor? Good and bad. Judge me accordingly. Yeah. All right. Don't like it? Vote for the other guy.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Hey, coming up, we've got a whole line of good guests today. Of course, it's Tuesday. So Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky will be here to start us off. Arthur from Huffington Post, Igor, of course, from Think Progress. And then we'll have reporters in from Media Matters and the Daily Beast. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Bill, it's cold out there.
I know,
it's so cold out there.
Down in the
fact,
low digits.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of Canada, in Ontario yesterday at Niagara Falls, something that happened that rarely happens. They had a high yesterday of 9 degrees and a low of -1, meaning that Niagara Falls is partially frozen.
Frozen over. It's done that.
Frozen over. It doesn't happen very often, but it has done that before. The pictures are spectacular. We just tweeted out some photos for you to go check out.
Cool.
Make sure you're following us at BP Show. We just tweeted out the photos courtesy of NBC News. So, yeah, Niagara Falls. Frozen over.
Finally makes winter look pretty.
Very exciting. Don't forget, that's where I went to school, where I went to college.
There you go.
University of Niagara. Right there.
We knew the Pope was cool, but we didn't know he was this cool. Over the weekend, he was giving a prayer in Italian, not his native language of Spanish. And the Italian word for the F word is awfully close to the Italian word for example or case, caso, not caso or cazzo.
Cazzo. We can say it.
The FCC only impacts English. Well, the Pope got them confused. He dropped the F-bomb in the middle of his prayer over the weekend. Moved right along, though. Didn't faze him at all.
I knew I loved this Pope.
Yeah.
You know what? He knew what he was doing, man. I'll bet he dropped the F-bomb all over the Vatican, man. I'll bet you.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would never do it here.
No.
So I have 4 witnesses here that have never heard me drop the F-bomb, right?
Never heard you use the F word, damn it. Ben and Jerry's
Cyprian. You tell him.
Damn it. Ben and Jerry's ice cream continues to find ways to make us fatter. They have unveiled their new concoction, core ice cream flavors They're called Hazed and Confused, Peanut Butter Fudge, Salted Caramel, and that's my jam. What it is they have 2 different flavors of ice cream on each side of the container, and then in the middle is a thick core of either fudge, hazelnut spread, jam, or salted caramel. And you just mix them all together and get these giant hunks of fudge or whatever your whatever flavor you got to mix in with your ice cream.
All right.
They'll be on American stores later this month.
Ben & Jerry's, the most, I think the best and the most creative of the ice creams out there. Haagen-Dazs is really good too. But give me the rum raisin.
Yeah, man.
I'm happy forever.
There you go.
I like these new
forever.
I like these new core things because you can control your fudge distribution.
That's right.
That's the whole point. It's very good.
Of fudge and if you want to just take a spoon right down the middle and take out an entire.
It's very important.
Already, it's a bit. You know what? We've had on our Fridays sometimes now. We've had wine. We've had gin. We've had beer. We've had honest tea. We had ceviche.
Yeah.
We haven't had ice cream.
Oh, it's a little too cold, I guess.
I'm going to wait just a couple of months, and then we'll do ice cream.
Maybe hot cocoa.
Let's have an ice cream tasting here. Huh?
I'll wait till it's summertime, but yes, I think that's a very good idea.
Okay,
boss.
good. Well, the latest on the Ukraine. Yes, Vladimir Putin having a very unusual news conference just minutes ago. He just sat in a chair in front of reporters, not at a lectern, not at a podium, not at some great big conference hall. Just it looked like he was in his living room, and reporters firing questions, and Vladimir Putin defiant this morning, not backing down at all. He said the only legitimate president of the Ukraine, there was a coup, he says, bloodless, it wasn't so bloodless on the part of the Ukrainian people shooting the protesters, but at any rate, he called it a coup. He said the only legitimate president of the Ukraine is Yanukovych, who, of course, is hiding away in Moscow. Nobody but Putin and Yanukovych believe he's still the president of the Ukraine. And when it comes to getting out of the Crimea, Vladimir Putin said no way, no how. He is protecting Russian interests by having troops there. And he said, yes, we went in without firing a shot, but all options remain on the table, and ask about seizing maybe even more territory in the Crimea. In the Ukraine. Again, Putin just says all options are on the table. That means we're farther apart than we might have thought we were, and with no solution in sight. So what do we do about this? Vladimir Putin invades another country. How does the United States respond? Isn't this a time when, at least it used to be, when partisan politics was put aside, Republicans and Democrats would all unite behind the president, and we would say, we or one of our allies has been attacked. Let's pull together and do the right thing and go after the aggressor. No, that's not the way it's done anymore. Today, what you do is you turn around and you blame President Obama, starting with this is what the Republican strategy is. Isn't it the same? Snowstorm, blame Obama, right? Hurricane, blame Obama. Earthquake in California, blame Obama. Revolution in the Ukraine, Putin invades another country, blame Obama. Here's John McCain yesterday.
This is the ultimate result of a feckless foreign policy where nobody believes in America's strength anymore.
Feckless foreign policy. Get off my porch. Get off my lawn. Yeah, right. And last night, the greatest of the Republican foreign policy sages, who advice we always look to when it comes to certainly to Russia, because she can see it from her front porch. Sarah Palin on Sean Hannity.
People are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Give me a freaking break. If I were the Pope, I'd drop the F-bomb right now. I mean, Jesus. I mean, that idiot. First of all, when she ran for vice president, McCain put her on the ticket thinking that she was presidential material. She was ready to walk it. Something happened to him. She was ready to become president. That is such a sad joke on the American people. And then her foreign policy credentials was she could see Russia from her front porch. I didn't make that up. Remember, she said that. Mm-hmm. God.
I love any foreign policy analysis that starts out with, look it.
Yeah, look it. Yeah,
sounds like
right.
a 6-year-old.
Yeah, right. And then, of course, the third horseman here, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham turns around and says, here's the problem. Here's the problem. The problem is we have a weak and indecisive president that invites aggression. Oh, Putin invades Ukraine, and it's Obama's fault because he's weak and decisive and invites aggression. What about George W. Bush, September 11, 2001, when Al-Qaeda attacked the United States? Well, I guess they did it because George W. Bush was a weak and indecisive president, right, that invited aggression. I mean, these guys, all it is a cheap shot at Barack Obama. And by the way, what's really happening is, first of all, Putin, the idea that you can control him or stop him from doing anything ahead of time is ridiculous. But as soon as it happened, President Obama said, we're canceling the G8 summit. We're going to throw Russia out of the G8, at least he's called for it. Canceled a trade mission to Russia. Has asked Congress to immediately provide, only Congress can do it, more aid to the Ukraine to help the new government there. Has sent John Kerry to the Ukraine. He's there today to show solidarity with the Ukrainian people. And get this. And the president has called for tough, across-the-board economic sanctions against Russia. At least we could do that. But England, the Netherlands, and Germany so far have said no. They're not for the sanctions because they're the EU and they trade with Russia. So the president's trying to do more, but our European allies won't go along. So, I mean, who's weakening this? The thing of it is, Putin's the bad guy here. Obama's not the bad guy. Republicans are just trying to make political hay out of an international crisis, and it's sickening. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it and respond to this outrageous partisanship at a time when we all should be united as Americans. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour now. And again, Republicans responding to what's happening in the Ukraine by just blaming it all on Obama. If only he'd been stronger, then Putin would have done this. And the evidence that they give is, well, if only when Syria used chemical weapons, we had bombed the crap out of Syria, then Putin would never have dared do this. And instead, the idea being to get rid of chemical weapons in Syria, President Obama did partner with Russia in getting Syria to agree to get rid of their chemical weapons, which in fact they are now doing. Achieving that without starting a third war in the Middle East, I think is something that most Americans appreciated, but not John McCain. Remember, John McCain would have had us, if John McCain were president, we'd be Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, and Syria. 4 wars going on right now. Peter.
We're on Twitter at BP Show, PhillyFan99 says, I don't remember anyone criticizing W when Putin invaded Georgia in 2008.
Thank you.
And Sarah Palin probably thought that he invaded Atlanta when he went into Georgia. Find us on Twitter at BP Show.
You got it. John's up in High Bridge, New Jersey. Hey, John, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. I'd just like to take this opportunity to let you know that, sometimes the Republicans are right. Because I stepped on a Lego this morning. Thanks a lot, Obama.
That's it. Yeah. That's what happened. Anything goes wrong, anything bad, right? You can blame him. Out in Chicago, our buddy Joey. Joey, what do you say?
Morning, guys. Is the Republican Party part of America anymore? I believe they're their own entity. They should all move down to Texas, every Republican, and have their own country. I cannot believe they could talk bad about this president when he didn't do a darn thing. And by the way, the United States doesn't ask Putin every time the United States wants to go and invade a country either. So sit back, Republicans. Obama doesn't have to talk. He walks the walk. You guys could talk the talk. Obama will take care of this. He walks the walk.
All right, Joey. That's Joey, man. He's got it.
Fired up.
He's got it. Fired up. He always is. Fired up and ready to go, and he's absolutely right on. Yeah, I mean, look, this is ridiculous. I like that point. Do you think we call up Putin and say, hey, we're going to send a drone over Pakistan to kill a few people there at a wedding party? We thought they were terrorists, but they're not. It's just at a wedding party, but we're going to blow them away anyhow. What do you think, Vlad? Hey, Vlad's all right if I invade Pakistan yet again? No, come on. Let's put the focus where it belongs.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. Indeed, it is The Bill Press Show, brought to you this morning, coming from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, brought to you this morning by the Communication Workers of America. Good men and women of the Communication Workers Union, the union for the information age, indeed, under President Larry Cohen. And for more information, you can find out a lot at their website at cwa-union.org, cwa-union.org. It's Tuesday morning. It's halfway through our first hour. He never fails. Arthur Delaney, here he is from the Huffington Post, covering, he's the champion of the middle class, we call him there on Huffington Post, watching out for the 99% man. Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning. I trudged through the snow to be here, Bill.
Well, we appreciate that. Of course, so did we. Only the Hale and Hardy come in on the snow days, right? Yeah. We'll see if Igor makes it. I'm a little nervous about Igor making it.
Me too. Russian spy.
He has to come across town, too. Arthur, before we get into the meat of the day here on the economic front, we've been talking about Putin's invasion of Crimea, and that John McCain and Sarah Palin and Lindsey Graham, of course, blame it on President Obama.
Absolutely.
If he only went out there and wrestled bears like Putin, Putin would never dream of invading another country. Peter's got a comment from out in Long Beach, California. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Mr. Press.
Bill.
My wife and I met you way back when you were out here in California.
Is that right?
Politics.
I miss California. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was that, first of all, I think these Republicans that come out and are talking about Putin being stronger than our president, that's sedation. What happened to all getting behind the president when something is going on? And it seems like Russia's taken a playbook from Nazi Germany when they invaded, the Sudetenland?
Mm-hmm.
At that time was the same thing to help German-speaking people.
Oh, yeah, right. That's always a ruse, right? Well, these people next door, they speak our language, so therefore we could take their land. Yeah.
But we need to support our president. I think he's done more than Bush ever even thought he did.
All right, we got it. Hey, Peter, good to hear from you again, and had many good days in Long Beach. Long Beach, where the Queen Mary still is. Yeah, it's a nice convention site, nice party site there. And a nice town, Long Beach. So, Arthur, what's happening on the president today? There's our briefing today is going to be not in the White House, but in the South Court auditorium of the old Executive Office building, because the president is unveiling, or the administration is unveiling, the president's budget for this year.
They're putting out a budget.
Right. Is there any good stuff in there for the middle class?
There will be more money for things like Head Start. In general, more spending for federal programs that help the poor and middle class. And the budget, of course, is not something that sails through Congress and becomes law.
Right.
But it's a statement of priorities. And President Obama in this budget has already announced he's not going to cut Social Security. He's going to do things that his liberal allies will like and that Democrats in Congress will like, and that would benefit middle-class people. And this will be contrasted with a budget coming out from Paul Ryan, Republican chairman of the House Budget Committee and Ayn Rand acolyte.
I did see, is this the headline in Huffington Post, budget cuts mean 70,000 fewer housing vouchers for the poor?
These are the budget cuts we've already got. So Paul Ryan will be talking about fresh new budget cuts when his proposal comes out. But yeah, this is a story I did about how sequestration, remember sequestration?
Yeah, right.
And remember how in the fall they did a new budget that undid sequestration? Well, not entirely.
I was going to say just partially undid.
Partially.
Yeah.
And so one area where the sequester has continued to fester is Section 8 housing vouchers, which are vouchers that are given to poor people with kids so that they can rent private apartments.
It's a supplemental thing, isn't it? As I recall,
it helps. It helps you pay. If you can find an apartment, and the voucher covers the whole cost, fine. But you can also use your own money to get something more expensive. 2 million households in America rely on these vouchers, and as of December, 70,000 fewer were receiving them than had been prior to sequestration. So I met some people in Virginia, in Alexandria, who, one woman, her place was filled with rodents, and she had become an expert on every kind of mousetrap. The decon kind, the sticky kind, the kind that just kills them by smashing them, the kind that spins them around and you just throw it out. So she had to move, and when she moved,
shotgun.
When she moved, she discovered that her voucher had shrunk. Because she was moving, she was getting a smaller amount, and she wound up being able to afford fewer bedrooms. So instead of living in a 3-bedroom with her 3 kids, she's now in a 2-bedroom. So the kids are on top of each other. She's got a one of her youngsters is a 5-year-old boy. The other 2 are girls, so it's real awkward. The kids got questions. But that's the situation. Thanks to sequestration, some people aren't getting help at all. Others who are still getting help are piling on top of each other. And that's just the new reality of a budget-constrained
But
government.
these are existing, but cuts in the existing system, right? These are not new cuts that are coming from Paul Ryan. Right? No. So what does Ryan have in mind, and when does he release his budget?
Ryan has not released it yet, but yesterday he put out this really long 200-page report that actually, in a somewhat measured and balanced way, just detailed the history of and the way all our different spending programs work. And I say balanced because his previous efforts, it'll describe the program and just say it's bad, basically. But this document, it cited a lot of liberal sources like the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities that acknowledged some of the controversies over how we measure poverty in this country. He does say essentially that we have a poverty trap, which is that when you qualify for benefits that help you pay for food, shelter, and other things. When you work and you lose eligibility for those, that is essentially a marginal tax. And by calling it a trap, I think some people would say that implies poor people are too stupid to know what's best for them. But anyway, he doesn't say what he's going to cut in this long document. And he doesn't. There aren't boogeymen in there like the food stamp surfer, for instance.
Yeah, right.
Who is the hero of Eric Cantor's for making food stamps look totally terrible. So it was not a totally ideological thing. But his cuts will come out within the next week, and those, if it's anything like what he's done before, could be really severe cuts. I wonder if he is trying to pivot from being perceived as so ideological to someone who's taking a more balanced approach to these things.
Well, if these are severe cuts, it's not a balanced approach.
Well, I'm just saying, based on the tenor of this thing that came out yesterday, I wonder if he's not going to cut as deep in his proposals.
And you haven't seen the cuts yet.
Right.
But the point you made, which I think is very important, is that these cuts that the House Republicans under Ryan are definitely going to try to get come on top of the sequester, which really is still in place. So these draconian cuts that came about because they couldn't agree on the plan to balance the grand plan and everything, right? Which were somewhat modified last December, but they're still there, and they're still pretty severe cuts. And on top of that, they want to cut even more.
So, the sequester was literally just cuts, 5% cut to just everything.
Right.
But what Paul Ryan is likely to propose will be not simply cuts, but transformative reforms, things that completely change the way these programs work. For instance, he had proposed in the past turning Medicare into a coupon that senior citizens can use to try to buy private insurance.
A voucher.
A coupon, a voucher, whatever you want to call it. Completely different program from the way Medicare works now. Or he'll say, we got to take food stamps and turn it from something that you qualify for by being poor into just a fixed sum of money we give to states, and it's up to them what they do with it. And inevitably that would mean conservative states give way less money to people who are poor, and require people to work even when there's nothing to do because there aren't enough jobs in this country. So effectively cutting it through completely changing it.
Yeah. Arthur Delaney with us here from Huffington Post. I have to congratulate you. You have coined a phrase that I will steal that I never heard anybody use before, and that is that the sequester continues to fester.
That's a Huffington Post hobby. We always say sequester fester.
Is that right?
Because it keeps festering.
I know, but I like it. Sequester fester. All right. You heard it here first, or you read it on Huffington Post first. You can beat up on Arthur Delaney anytime you want. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number.
Come at me, bro.
We don't want to be the only ones giving him a hard time. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment, and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Got it, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post here in studio with us, champion of the middle class. with his outstanding Vladimir Putin imitation. You want to give us a Vladimir? There he is. There's the Vlad look. The Vlad look. Yeah, that's what.
Can he slump or what?
Can he ever?
He can slouch.
He was doing that with President Obama. That one time they were talking. President Obama was sitting there like cheerful, and you looked over, and there was Putin slouched down in his chair.
He won the gold in Olympic slouching. It's after curling.
It's the most exciting event after curling. We've been talking about the draconian budget cuts that the Republicans are likely to come up with. We're waiting for Paul Ryan's other shoe to drop. Beverly, Arthur, has a comment from St. David, Illinois. Hey, Beverly, good morning.
Hi, Bill. How's everybody?
Everybody's good. Arthur's ready for you here. Bring it on.
Okay. Hey, you look good Saturday on TV. I love you.
Well, thank you. You mean Saturday morning on?
Yes, on Up. It was good.
Up with Steve Karnacki. Thanks,
Yeah.
Beverly. I'm everywhere, Bev.
I know. I love you, especially when you're on the Reverend Al.
All right. Well, be there again this week sometime, I'm sure.
Oh, goody.
Back to you. Right. What's up?
Well, this is what's up. I was watching Alex Wagner on MSNBC on yesterday, and they mentioned this report that Mr. Delaney there was talking about. The reporter that was talking to Miss Wagner said that he was going to eliminate the Head Start program, saying that it never worked. He wants to eliminate Medicaid completely and cut food stamps so severely that there would only be a few 100,000 on it.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's what you're hearing too?
What was the report is hard on Head Start. He hasn't said what he's going to do, but I think that is probably one of the most significant disagreements in the budgets that are coming out. Obama wants billions more for Head Start. Paul Ryan probably wants to cut Head Start.
Yeah. Beverly, thank you so much for letting us know about that. Thanks for your call this morning. But here's the deal. When every educator, I mean, when we have, Dennis Van Roekelen from the NEA and Randy Weingarten from the AFT and every teacher that I've talked to, everybody, most parents, right? Head Start is a great program, and the solution, right, to keeping kids doing better in school and keeping kids in school. We just saw that even with this My Brother's Keeper program the other day. What were they talking about? Early education, right? That's the way to start. How can Paul Ryan just want to do away with the program?
When Paul Ryan and Senator Patty Murray got together to craft a budget that would undo sequestration, one of the things that they undid for the most part was the cuts to Head Start that had made so many negative headlines throughout the country because people's lives were being upended. They lose their Head Start. They have to redo their whole schedules for how they deal with their kids and go to work. They anticipate all the ways their lives will change in the future from not having Head Start.
But I mean, what a place to start, right? I mean, they wouldn't do they wouldn't do anything about the tax cuts for the wealthiest of Americans. Instead, they'll cut early education, for preschool for kids, which is the kind of the basic building block of a good education, right? To get kids in. Not to mention what it does in terms of helping families, right? Because it enables both parents to work, right? Like kids at a preschool, but it gets these kids started with, learning skills and reading skills and everything else.
I must admit this was I did not read the Head Start portion of the Paul Ryan poverty analysis, but I am surprised that they want to poop on Head Start so much. I like you, I'm mostly familiar with all the great things that Head Start is known for. It helps kids before they go to school, begin socializing and learning and all that.
In fact, just like learning to get together, right?
Yeah.
So when does the Ryan budget come out?
Within a week. I
Okay.
believe next week it's coming out.
All right.
And Obama's coming out today.
Obama's coming out today. So next week we can talk about the Obama budget. Hopefully we can talk about and dissect and tear apart and, to use your word, poop on the Paul Ryan budget.
Okay.
All right. Arthur Delaney. Huffington Post. You only see him here once a week, but you can read him every minute of every day at HuffingtonPost.com. Thank you, Arthur.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Top of the next hour, Igor Volsky from Think Progress here in studio with us. We'll also take a look at what's happening in the Ukraine. Peter, what's going on?
Speaker of the House John Boehner is doing a fantastic job. If you ask him,
I was going to say, says who?
If you ask him, he sat down with the Inquirer in Ohio to give a little interview about where he is, where things stand. And he was asked if he will be reelected as Speaker next time around. Quoting Boehner, he says, "It won't even be close. I frankly think I'm in better shape with my own caucus than I have been at any time in the last 3 years. I think they understand me better," end quote. So he's going to be Speaker, and it won't even be close if you ask him.
So it's a slam dunk.
That's
what
he says.
I don't know. I'm going to nominate Keith Ellison for Speaker, and we'll see how many votes we can round up.
There you go.
I'm sure we could round up a lot of votes among Democrats. I'm not sure we get many votes from the Republicans.
Yeah.
Keith Ellison, but well, Boehner's not going to be Speaker because Democrats are going to get back control of the House.
This
So take
is the
that,
Bill
John.
Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy day after the big snowstorm here on the East Coast. It is Tuesday, March 4. Good to see you this morning. It's the Bill Press Show. Welcome, 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 whether you're watching on Free Speech TV or on a video stream, TawkrTV. Good to have you with us this morning. Reaching out to you with all the news of the day and inviting you to send us your comments by phone at 866-55-PRESS. On Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook. Join our friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Well, the Russian troops continue to occupy Crimea. Vladimir Putin not backing down. In fact, he is sending in more troops, and there is fear that Russia may try to seize even more territory in the Ukraine, not just the Crimean Peninsula. Meanwhile, President Obama has called for tough economic sanctions against Russia, but the UK and the Netherlands and Germany have said, no, we think that's going too far, and without the help of Europe, there's no way that the United States alone can put enough pressure on Vladimir Putin to force him to change course. Meanwhile, back here at home, Disney becomes the latest company to break its ties with the Boy Scouts, saying it's no longer going to give money to the Boy Scouts because of their anti-gay policy. Two leading former Republican senators, Alan Simpson of Wyoming and Nancy Kassenbaum from Kansas, have broken with the Republican Party, saying the party is wrong on same-sex marriage. They have filed an amicus brief to overturn bans against same-sex marriage in Utah and Oklahoma. And here in the Mid-Atlantic, we are digging out Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Richmond, digging out from yesterday's great big snowstorm. And the Pope, we knew we loved this guy. Here's another reason to love him. Yesterday, he dropped the F-bomb. Well, accidentally, but he still dropped the F-bomb. All of that coming up and more on this morning's edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma.
Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Vladimir Putin says all options are open for the Ukraine. What the hell? He already invaded them. What's left? What other options are left? I hate to think. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Happy Tuesday, March 4. Great to see you today. Here we go, coming to you live from our nation's capital, booming out to you on your local progressive talk radio station nationwide, booming out to you on Free Speech TV as well, and worldwide on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. Whether you're watching or listening, welcome to the program this morning. Lots to talk about what's going on here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. We'll let you know, bring you up to date, and then you can tell us what you think about it at 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. On Twitter, send us your comments at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. And we know why most of you are tuned in at this hour, because it's Igor time. Igor Volsky, managing editor of Think Progress, for his weekly visit. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I would have thought it was the Putin press conference, but I'm glad that it's
the Putin press conference.
Yeah,
but I do.
He was my opening act.
We have a new heading for you, Igor. Right now, we talked about the opera Prince Igor.
Yes.
Right. Was opening up. Right?
Yes.
Here's the headline in the New York Review of Books this week: a great Prince Igor.
Of course.
There we go.
Of course.
So he's not only Prince Igor, I brought that in for you.
There you go.
He's our guest at the top of the hour today, the great Prince Igor.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Joining our team, Peter Ogburn and Alyssa Murphy. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hey.
With Alicia Cruz there, standing by to take your calls, and Cyprian Bolding keeping the cameras running here, starting up the engines on the video stream and on Free Speech TV, our videographer. So, there's, I guess, if you have an Apple, if you have an iPhone, it's already built in. Somebody steals your phone, you can kill it, right? Mm-hmm. But not all.
Find My iPhone, you can wipe it clean, get all the content off of it, and shut it down so nobody can use it.
Shut it down so nobody can use it. Right, that option does exist. Comes with the iPhone, but not with all smartphones. And you see these signs in the metro. that most thefts today in the metro
are
about
phone.
iPhones and people holding them in their hands, like I often do, walking with them or sitting in the metro. People grab them and they take them and they sell them overseas for hundreds of dollars. So Congressman Jose Serrano from New York wants to make this obligatory on all smartphones, and he tells here's how it would work.
What the kill switch would do, and it's the best word we could come up with, not the greatest word, but the kill switch will do is it will render the phone inoperable.
And Eric Schneiderman, the Attorney General of New York, talks about how common these thefts are these days.
Today in the United States, 1 in 3 robberies and thefts involves a smartphone, and these crimes are often accompanied by violence.
It's just amazing. But, I mean, why not have a kill phone or kill switch on? Why wouldn't the companies, I don't understand, why wouldn't Samsung and the other companies do this automatically?
Well, they should. But for me, the other trick is always be 2 phone models behind. That way, nobody's going to want your phone. That's how you really do it.
Good point.
Yeah, it's basically from 1948.
Did you get that to Smithsonian?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
But seriously, why wouldn't it be an automatic feature?
Well, because then you have to pay and buy a new phone. It's in there. It's something in their business model, maybe.
That's right.
Get a new phone. Your phone's stolen. Get a new phone.
Well,
or I guess it's stolen anyway. You got a new phone anyway. Never mind. Okay.
No,
but if it's a
deterrent,
I know. I kind of see what you're saying. But I mean, if it's on there as a deterrent, right, and they know that you've got the kill switch on your phone, maybe they won't mess with it as much.
They won't. Right.
So they won't steal it.
They won't try and steal it.
They won't steal it, so then people won't have to buy enough.
It's a conspiracy.
I hate to think.
I
hate to think
sounds
that
like
they
something
really
Putin
are
said at his
encouraging
press
people to
conference.
steal.
Actually,
Yeah.
very conspiratorial.
If they're encouraging people to steal phones, so
I'm
we
blaming
can
the
sell
West
more
for
phones.
this.
I don't know. I just think it's a common sense idea, and I hope they I hope they do it. And I'm
Those
glad
Nazi nationalists, they're behind it.
I'm glad to know that I have it on my phone. I didn't realize that. But
There
so
you go.
don't steal my phone.
Damn it.
You got it. Coming up with Igor here, and we'll talk to Ukraine a little bit later. Jeremy Holden from Media Matters will be here at the top of in the next hour, and also Jamelle Bouie from the Daily Beast. But first, what do you got?
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. This time yesterday, I was reporting on Ellen DeGeneres as host of the Oscars. She took that famous selfie of Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Brad Pitt, several A-list Hollywood actors.
Broke down Twitter.
3.1 million retweets as of now. She famously had Bradley Cooper hold her phone out and take that selfie in a spontaneous, exciting...
Was that a phone or an iPad?
It was a phone. Well, it was a phone, but it was not quite as spontaneous as we were led to believe.
No.
It turns out
No.
Samsung paid $20 million for ads all throughout the Oscars, and one of the things that they paid for is to have the host use their Samsung Galaxy Note, their smartphone, through the broadcast. And that was the way, as she held the camera out and Bradley Cooper held the camera out, you could see it's the white Samsung logo there on the phone. So
product placement.
Total product placement. Wasn't spontaneous, wasn't fun.
We would be glad to take a selfie with a Samsung phone here, I feel like.
I'll
So
take a
if
selfie with a
Samsung-
Kyocera flip phone if that's what you're paying, okay?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we'll get 5 retweets. It'll be respectable.
Ellen DeGeneres. Selling out.
Sold out.
But did it so smoothly and gracefully. America loves that.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood, babe. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of the Oscars, it's the second day of the Oscar Pistorius murder trial in South Africa.
God.
You like that?
Oh, smooth.
You like that?
I love
Here's the
the
problem, though.
transition.
It's been interrupted and shut down because the South African television channel broadcast a photograph of a key witness in the trial, the neighbor of Pistorius,
The
Michelle
woman who talked
Berger.
about hearing the screams?
Heard the screams. They put her picture out on TV this morning, and the judge stopped the trial. They're trying to figure out where they go from here. So
God.
it's happening,
goodness.
but it is slowed down.
Whoa.
And happy Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras today. Right now, how are we all sober? New Orleans is gearing up for a very...
Speak for yourself.
New Orleans is gearing up for a very cold Mardi Gras. Highs of 32 degrees today. Of course, that means Lent begins tomorrow, so get your sinning out of the way today.
Yeah.
I had some delicious king cake at the Oscar party I went to on Sunday, and I got the baby in the king cake.
Did you really?
Did you
Good
really?
luck, and I buy the next king cake.
Congratulations.
That's right.
Yeah. Huh.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Maybe there won't be as much nudity as this Mardi Gras because if it's only 32 degrees.
That's right. Although when you get drunk enough, you won't feel anything.
That's true, too. All right. Thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. So, Igor Volsky, our first question for you today, which everybody is breathlessly waiting, is why did you invade Crimea?
I know. Well, you know,
I want to go Glenn Beck style and ask you to prove to us that you're not working with the Russians.
I know. Well, look, first of all, for me, I feel like all these events are really an effort to boost the ratings for The Americans, which is that great show on FX about Soviet spies. So that's number one.
You sound like Putin.
Right. Well, yes. And if you listen to Putin this morning, he'll tell you that they didn't really invade Crimea, that those troops are actually Crimeans, local Crimeans wearing Russian uniforms, which you can buy anywhere. And they come in like these kits you put together yourself and you look like a Russian officer. So that's really what happened. Yeah, no, it's really remarkable, the paranoia of this guy. And I submit to you that because the Olympics went so well and he was on the world stage and he was a legitimate world leader for a time, that kind of gave him this rush or this push to act like this, and he quickly found out, as I think this press conference demonstrated, that it's not the 19th century anymore, and the world is not going to stand for it.
Well, what you say about the Olympics may be true, but it's also the reverse side of that is he scored such a great public relations coup with the Olympics. Let's face it, there were not the security problems people talked about ahead of time. The games came off pretty well. They were pretty exciting. The coverage was great. Russia looked great. The opening ceremony, the closing ceremonies presented Russia in this very positive light, rightfully so. And then they won the most medals of any other country, $50 billion. And what does he do with all that goodwill?
Squanders it completely.
Totally. In a week.
This isn't a guy, I don't think, that you can kind of rationally figure out what's going on in his head. He's been in almost complete control for 17 years. He's surrounded by yes men who don't challenge him, who don't kind of, figure out what's best for the country. And when you're in that kind of bubble, and a lot of your other acts are so irrational. I mean, he invaded Georgia in 2008. I mean, you go on and on and on, and it's a real problem. And if he doesn't resolve this quickly, if this escalates any further, my goodness, it's going to be a big problem.
It is indeed, and President Obama, we'll be talking more about that in the next half hour, trying to get the European allies to agree with us and go along with us in imposing pretty strong sanctions against Russia. But so far, the EU is not, partners have not been willing to go that far. Your lead story on Huffington. Whoa! That was Arthur. That was Arthur.
Bye, guys. Yeah.
Think progress this morning is that Paul Ryan. He hasn't released his budget yet, but he released sort of an preface to his budget. He looked at a lot of anti-poverty programs which Republicans normally attack, and he found out some surprising things.
A lot of these programs actually work. This is part of his...
Except for Head Start, I guess.
Except for Head Start. That's one he criticized, as Arthur correctly pointed out. 204 pages. He went through every single anti-poverty program in the federal government and said, look, the federal government, 50 years since Lyndon Johnson declared a war on poverty, actually contributes to the problem, that we have these patchwork of programs. A lot of them don't work very well. There's no evidence that they do anything to help people. They keep people from working. They incentivize laziness, basically, yada, yada, yada. But there are a lot of programs that his own report find work fairly well. These include the Veterans Healthcare System, which is the biggest single-payer healthcare system in the country, the Child Tax Credit, the Earned Income Tax Credit, which Obama will be discussing in his budget, rural housing assistance grants, family planning, Title X family planning, he says works moderately well. almost all of the HIV/AIDS programs, like Ryan White, housing opportunities for persons
Well, if
with
these
AIDS.
work well, which ones does he dump on?
Well, I mean, he dumps on Head Start. He dumps on SNAP. He dumps on Section 8 housing. I mean, he dumps on a lot of them. But what's surprising to me when going through this report is a lot of these things are either A, inconclusive because you don't have the analysis for it, or B, according to government studies, OMB, etc., GAO, they actually work well. They have successfully kind of pushed people upward. And it's something that he really can't deny, as hard as he tries to say the government's not the answer. You got to have market competition to give people opportunity.
Well, and but this sets the pace for his budget.
So
which
his budget,
right, which we presume will contain pretty draconian cuts to these social programs and others.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a bit different from what we've seen in the past. He's going to try to offer really a poverty solution. And a lot of people think it's going to be based on this idea of a universal voucher, which we've seen in the UK, which you know about. It says you get one voucher that you use on all the programs you're eligible for. And there's a great deal of debate. Does that kind of thing work? Does it not work? They're just kind of pilot testing it in the UK now. And it's something I think conservatives see as a very clean way to deliver benefits that takes out a lot of the government bureaucracy.
Isn't it kind of strange when you think about, I mean, this is one, we're talking about Paul Ryan and his budget, but you almost have to stop and remind yourself, this guy was the vice presidential nominee in 2012. Yeah. And with all the talk about who might run in 2016 among the Republicans, Chris Christie, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker. Do you ever hear anybody mention Paul Ryan?
You know, I think this is...
Almost not at all, right? I mean, I don't.
You know, I'd say it's probably early. You always look at the top governors first, I think. I mean, it's rare for you to see someone in the House and say, this guy. I mean, but look, whatever you say about Paul Ryan, I mean, he really wants to have a conversation at the end of the day about this issue. It's something he's been interested in for a long time.
He's a thoughtful guy.
He is a thoughtful guy, yes. Yeah. So, you know, so I think, when you compare him to someone like Bobby Jindal, who just, governor of Louisiana, who just goes out there and spits out crazy rhetoric, this in some respects is a breath of fresh air, even though a lot of it is very dishonest. A lot of this report that he put together is very dishonest in the way it puts together the evidence.
No, I'm just talking about the reality, which he certainly he would like to be the nominee of the party. I think he feels that maybe he has earned it by being out there as a vice presidential nominee. But he's such a wonk, I think, that people just don't even consider him.
Yeah, he has a serious mansplaining problem. I don't think he can speak without mansplaining anything to you. Yeah. But at this early stage in the game, I would rather be in Paul Ryan's position, kind of flying under the radar, setting the foundation for a policy discussion, a real difference with the Democrats, than I'd be a Chris Christie or someone who's in front of the pack, because those guys don't stay on top for long.
The only good thing about Paul Ryan, as far as I'm concerned, is that he has good taste in hairstylists. He and I, the same person cuts his hair, cuts my hair.
Oh, all right. Good to know. Who would have thought?
That's why we look so much alike.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, you have the same style.
Igor Volsky here from Think Progress. I know where he comes from, thinkprogress.org. Your calls welcome, your comments welcome. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Day.org. See what we're doing. See how you can help.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, yes, indeed, with Igor Volsky, managing editor of Think Progress. Check it out, not just once a day, several times a day, because they keep adding stuff. ThinkProgress.org. Can we say hello to Stephen from Aurora, Illinois? Hey, Stephen, what do you say? Good morning.
Morning, Bill. Why don't we use Republican terms that Ryan earned as Congressman, Vice Presidential candidate, Mr. 47% and Mr. Takers, how he demonized all them people as takers. Now he's saying that it works. And then he just went after public welfare, never saying a word how we socialize farmers, that we pay 60% of their crop insurance, that we kept the latest farm bill has the same sugar subsidies we've had since WW2, and how he never says a word about corporate welfare. Where does that come in the free market where we pick winners and losers?
All right, Stephen, make some excellent points. Igor?
It's always a certain segment of the population that benefits from welfare. It's the single mother, the African-American mother, the welfare queen. All that imagery is back with Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, no, it is, right? And if you're helping people at the lower end of the scale, it's wrong and it's welfare and it's a crutch. If you're helping the farmers and the
job creation.
Yeah, right. And the Wall Street executive. Hey, Igor, always great to see you. Thanks so
Good
much,
to be
man.
here.
Hands off Crimea.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 33 minutes after the hour now, coming to you live from our nation's capital. Still digging out from yesterday's snowstorm, but the federal government is open today, and most businesses will be back open. We are here, as we were yesterday, and brought to you today by AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. For more information about their good work, the men and women of AFSCME under President Lee Saunders, go to their website, afscme.org, AFSCME.org, out there fighting for the minimum wage, among other great issues. And we just learned, just saw on the cable news, that Secretary of State John Kerry has arrived in Kiev, there to show support for the people of the Ukraine and the new government of the Ukraine in crisis today, of course, because Vladimir Putin has sent Russian troops into the Crimean Peninsula, that part of the Ukraine jutting out into the Black Sea, and have in effect, they've invaded and occupied the Crimea. Putin in a news conference this morning saying he is just defending the interest of Russia, that former President Yanukovych is actually still the president of the Ukraine, the only legitimate president of the Ukraine. He has condemned the protest movement that knocked Yanukovych down as just a coup. And Putin insists that all options are on the table, which some fear means that he may even want to seize more territory of the Ukraine, where there are a lot of Russian citizens living, like there are in Crimea. Meanwhile, you would think that this is a time, I'd love to get your comments on because it really burns me. You think this is a time when all Americans would, as we used to do, Republicans and Democrats, we've been attacked, or one of our allies has been attacked, we would unite behind the president and say, let's go get the guy who did this. This is wrong. We're not going to tolerate this. Let's all come together as Americans and go after our common enemy. That's not the way it works anymore. Not with this Republican Party, not with this crowd, because all they are looking for is one more excuse to blame President Obama. The roads are still icy in Washington, D.C. Blame Obama, right? There were heavy rains and mudslides in Southern California last weekend. Blame President Obama. Vladimir Putin comes off the Olympics, invades his neighboring country. Blame President Obama. It's his fault, says John McCain yesterday.
This is the ultimate result of a feckless foreign policy where nobody believes in America's strength anymore.
John McCain. Yeah, feckless foreign policy. Right. If they did what I said, we would have bombed Iran, and we would have bombed Syria, and we'd be bombing Moscow. That's John McCain's answer to everything. Yeah, and his butt buddy, Lindsey Graham, yesterday, Sunday morning on CNN, he said, this is the problem. This happened because, he said, quote, we have a weak and indecisive president that invites aggression. Oh, yeah, that's it. President Obama, who remember, got Osama bin Laden, who has killed more Al-Qaeda members than like any other president, has ordered more drone strikes, 10 times as many as George W. Bush. I mean, who has been so aggressive when it comes to the war on terror without calling it that it makes liberals like me very nervous. But they say he hasn't done anything. They're just wrong. They're just dead wrong about this. And by the way, so he's saying, this is really hard to follow, right? Okay, Putin invaded the Crimea because President Obama is weak and indecisive. How about when Al-Qaeda attacked us in this country, on our soil, in September 11, 2001? Did he say that they attacked us because George W. Bush was a weak and indecisive president? Or how about when Putin invaded Georgia, like 6 years ago, I think it was, 2008, and George Bush did absolutely nothing? Did Putin invade Georgia because he knew that George W. Bush was weak and indecisive? And did George Bush do nothing about it because he was weak and indecisive? It doesn't really add up, Lindsay, if you think about it, huh?
They
just
should
say
know
this stuff.
They should know better than to just start making. There's a joke on Twitter, right? Hashtag thanks Obama for saying like Obama is responsible for everything that ever goes wrong.
Yeah,
it's
right.
snowing outside. Thanks Obama. Hashtag
right.
thanks Obama. It seems like they're just.
I tripped over my cat this morning.
Thanks a lot, Obama. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
No.
But these guys, they've been around long enough to know that they know better.
They do.
They know better.
And by the way, but of course, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, what do they know? But the ultimate sage, the master foreign policy expert of the Republican Party, also spoke out about this last night on Sean Hannity's show. And of course, I'm talking about the woman who can see Russia from her front porch.
Look it. People are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Unfreaking believable.
Look it.
She is such an embarrassment. Oh, my God. Look it. And by the way, they may want to blame Barack Obama. I blame Sarah Palin. Because if she could see Russia from her front porch, then she should have known what they were up to. She should have known that they were massing the troops. And why didn't she call us up and why didn't she call Obama and say, hey, I just looked out the window and I saw Pootie, he's getting some troops together. He's going to send them into the... She knew before we did. Huh?
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's her fault.
What are we doing?
But here's what gets me is, again, seriously, isn't this a time to just kind of put partisan politics aside? Isn't this a time to say, what Putin did is wrong, and we don't have a lot of options, but what can we do? Let me tell you. This is what President Obama is doing. Okay? First of all, he's on the phone for Putin with 90 minutes trying to talk him out of it and telling him there's going to be a price to pay, Vlad, baby. Huh? Okay? The president has canceled our participation in the G8 summit in Sochi for June. He has suggested, as have others, that Russia be just thrown out of the G8, which is not going to be good for Russia because they want that trade with the West. Just throw them out because of this kind of... He has canceled one trade mission from American business trade mission heading for Moscow for new business deals. Canceled that. Canceled a trade mission from Russia that was due to arrive here in the United States to talk about new energy deals. Canceled that. He has sent John Kerry to Kiev, and John Kerry is there, to show our support for the Ukrainian people. He has called on Congress. Congress was shut down yesterday, but he has called on Congress to send more, a massive infusion of economic assistance to the new government of the Ukraine to help prop them up and get them started. They see us as their partners, for sure. They know where almost nobody else is standing with them. The United States is standing with them. And the president has also called on our European partners, members of NATO, members of the G8, to put basically a boycott, tough economic sanctions against Russia. We have stepped up and said, we're ready to do that. But the UK and the Netherlands and Germany, at least those three, and I think there are other countries as well, have said, no, we have too much trade with Russia. We don't want to do that. So President Obama is just trying to get our European allies to go along with these economic sanctions. And by the way, all of these people, none of them that I know of, these critics and blaming on Obama, none of them are saying he ought to take military action.
Right.
Right? So they want it both ways. No, we're not going to take military action, but he's got to do something. He is doing something. There are not a lot of options open. And again, they're not letting George Bush off the hook, but that's why he didn't do anything when Russia invaded Georgia. Only so much we could do. President Obama, I think, is doing everything he can do and is willing to do more. But all the Republicans want to do is just use it in this election, midterm election year, as one more opportunity to bash Obama, blame Obama. It's disgusting. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here. 866-55-77-377. Are you an American or are you just a cheap, petty Republican politician?
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes now before the top of the hour. New York Times reporting that on his arrival in Kiev just moments ago, Secretary of State John Kerry pledged $1 billion in economic aid to the new government of Ukraine. Again, as a very material sign of the support of the United States. It's not just talk. He is there in Kiev. He is bringing solid, tangible assistance to the new government of the Ukraine, and basically showing, I think, a sign to Vladimir Putin that this is a legitimate government. We recognize it. And it better be a policy of hands-off. Certainly don't think of seizing any more territory and get out of the Ukraine. 866-55-PRESS, the toll-free number. Let's talk about it here. And, the real point is this Republican that we're seeing from leading Republicans, John McCain's on MSNBC as we speak, bashing Obama yet again and blaming this whole thing on Obama. You know what this is like? This is like Benghazi.
It's a lot like Benghazi.
This is the new Benghazi.
That's a really good point.
Right? So terrorists attack our embassy, and we don't go after the terrorist or blame them. We blame President Obama because it happened. Again, what gets me is how these people are so quick to blame Obama personally for anything bad that goes wrong anywhere in the world while he's in the White House. And they gave George Bush a pass, starting with 9/11, for anything that went wrong when he was in the White House. But this is it. The whole focus. They've spent the last 3 years trying to make the case that this would not have happened. They would never have attacked our consulate in Benghazi if President Obama had not been such a, quote, weak and indecisive president. If he'd only gone out and wrestled with bears, right, they would never have gotten near Benghazi. They wouldn't have dared. Well, they're saying the same thing, exact same thing now about what happened in Crimea. And the argument they're making is, well, remember Syria. And Syria used chemical weapons. And President Obama said there would be consequences if they crossed that red line. And it looked like we were about to do military strikes against Syria. And then the Russians did put forth this plan. Well, you know what? What if we can get Syria to agree, hold off the military strike, to get rid of the chemical weapons? You had to look at that deal. And Syria said, yes, surprised the hell out of us. They're now turning over their weapons. They're destroying their weapons. That process is underway in Syria right now. And now the Republicans, McCain and Lindsey Graham particularly, are saying, because President Obama didn't bomb Syria at that time, didn't start World War III, or at least a third war in the Middle East, therefore, Vladimir Putin gets in his head, okay, Obama didn't bomb Syria, so therefore it's okay for me to invade Crimea. Only in the twisted mind of Lindsey Graham could you come up with that theory. Terry is calling from Bourbonnais, Illinois. Hey, Terry.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, good morning. What's up?
I was just listening to the program, what you were talking about, this invasion. Why do we feel that we have to be the world's cop? That we have to take care of everybody else's problems?
Well, you can't. We can't be the world cop, of course. But at the same time, I mean, I understand you don't let somebody invade another country and occupy it and just don't do anything about it. Now, it doesn't have to be military action, but you know, these people of Ukraine, they're our allies, and I think we have some responsibility to give them some help, don't you?
Well, maybe, but I do believe eventually there probably will be some military action because, I don't know, with this Pentagon budget being cut, them guys are probably ticked off. So, I don't know, I just get so frustrated when I hear this crap all the time.
Well, I know.
You know, our money is going overseas, and people are dying, like in Afghanistan or wherever, as far as I'm concerned, for nothing.
Yeah, I got it. All right, Terry, I appreciate the call. No, look, there is that. That's why, by the way, I think Terry reflects what a lot of Americans are feeling, that we are war weary, and the last thing that Americans want is another war in Iran, another war in Syria, and God knows, not another war in the Crimea. But nobody's talking about military action in the Crimea. But at the same time, and remember, by the way, what was the first Gulf War all about? Right? Saddam Hussein invaded, occupied Kuwait. And under the same pretense, hey, it's right next door. They speak our language. There's a lot of desert there, unoccupied land. We'll take it over, make it better. So the same reasoning with Vladimir Putin. Well, we actually got all the coalition members together and went to war to push Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. I'm not suggesting we do that in Crimea. All I'm saying is, short of war and short of being our brother's keeper everywhere in the world, I think we have to respond when one dictator invades the neighbor and seizes territory from the neighboring country under no matter what pretenses. And I think President Obama is doing everything short of military action to make sure to get Russian troops withdrawal, to get Putin to pull the Russian troops out of Crimea. Dave, up in Albany, New York. Hello, Dave.
Hi. I think there's a lot of stuff going on at in the Ukraine that's not getting mentioned in the Western press.
Uh-huh.
One of them is that Yushchenko is about to be the Western banker's boy, and he's going to impose austerity on the Ukraine, kind of like what happened to Greece.
You mean the new prime minister?
Well, yeah, the guy who basically managed to maneuver himself into that thing. So he's the banker's boy, and he's about to impose the IMF Troika austerity on the Ukraine, something fierce. So one of the things that was mentioned was the ability to sell off their farmland to foreigners. Another is to drastically wail on the pensions and other things of most Ukrainians. And you got to realize that Ukraine is 65 billion euros in the hole. They have insufficient amount of natural gas. It gets cold in the winter. And without energy, you're screwed.
Dave, you know what? I don't believe that all those things you said about the Ukraine are true, but they may be. And I'll certainly check them out. But even if they are, it does not justify Vladimir Putin invading Crimea. Let's focus on what happened. He invaded another country, and he shouldn't get away with it. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair, featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realized that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
Hey, what do you say, everybody? Hour number 3 coming up. I know you like the first 2 hours. You're going to like hour number 3 even more. Unfortunately, we lose you on Free Speech TV, but we got an option for you. You know about it. It's the video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV in the next hour. How is the media behaving these days? What are they focusing on? The right things, the wrong things? Jeremy Holden from Media Matters will be in, and we'll also talk to a reporter from the Daily Beast about President Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative. All that coming up, hour number 3.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Jeremy Holden from Media Matters joins us at the top of the next hour. President Obama, after he gets a daily briefing today, goes out to the Powell Elementary School here in Washington to talk about his 2015 budget. This is an unusual place to talk about the budget. I'm sure the first graders will be thrilled. And then the president comes back to the White House this afternoon. He'll be meeting with Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Tonight, he goes to McLean, Virginia for a Democratic Senate Campaign Committee event. And we'll be back here with Jeremy Holden from Media Matters on the third hour, the Bill Press Show.
Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Vladimir Putin says all options are on the table in Crimea. Well, he's already invaded the country and occupied the country. Like, what other options, Vladimir, do you have in mind? Hate to think. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Hour number 3 of The Bill Press Show on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning. And on our video stream all around the planet, you can watch as long as you have an electronic device. Just go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, and you will join us. And wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours or around the globe, our friends from Belarus and Ukraine, we send you particularly warm greetings. Welcome to the program this morning. Lots to talk about in our third hour together. And we are happy to be joined by all of you. And Jeremy Holden, who is a research director for Media Matters, our progressive watchdog, keeping their eye on Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin and Laura Ingraham and I mentioned Rush and Fox News, so we don't have to. Hi, Jeremy.
How you doing, Bill? That sounds like a sad day that you just laid out for me. So
there you go. Get back to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Put your earphones on and start listening to these guys. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy here. Leading,
good morning.
Team press this morning. We all made it in through the snow. We want you to know. Yep. It stopped about 2 or 3 yesterday afternoon, and then, there's still a lot of snow on the ground, but no more snow coming down at any rate. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered, waiting for your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Volding still on the job with the cameras going for our video stream. Thank you, Cyprian. And, I knew I liked this Pope Francis, for many reasons. His emphasis on poverty, his very simple, humble kind of lifestyle. Well, yesterday really reminded me why I love this Pope. Here it is in Italian, but I guess you have to listen carefully. At any rate, here's what happened. The Pope accidentally drops the F-bomb. You will hear him say cazzo, which is the bad word, instead of caso. But he moves right on, but here it is.
Non accumula ricchezze soltanto per sé, ma le mette al servizio degli altri. In questo caso la provvidenza di Dio si rende visibile.
But the Italian media watchers, they caught it right away. Put it up on YouTube, and it went viral. And there was the Pope with a little accidental slip of the F-bomb. But it just shows, he's human, just like all the rest of us. And he was speaking in Italian there, but I'll bet you he drops that F-bomb all over the bed. I don't think it was just a slip.
No. Maybe it's one less thing we have to go to confession for. Right?
Yeah, right. No, there it is. If the Pope can do it,
that's right.
Damn it, so can the rest of us. Right. All right. Jeremy's here with us for the first half hour, and then we'll be talking with Jamelle Bouie from Daily Beast a little bit later in the hour. Stay with us. But first, here with the big stories of the day.
Just a couple of other stories making news. The Boy Scouts of America have continued their controversial policy banning gay adult leaders, and the Walt Disney Company is taking a stand. They are cutting their ties with the Boy Scouts over that anti-gay policy. Now, to be clear, Disney never actually gave money or direct funding to the Boy Scouts of America, but they rewarded their employees for volunteerism through the Boy Scouts of America. But they have said no more. They're not going to do that any longer. It's over until they get this policy changed.
Maybe the Boy Scouts will get the message, but you would think they would have gotten it a long time ago.
Yeah, maybe. Congratulations to Scarlett Johansson. She is pregnant with her first child with her fiancé, French journalist Romain Doriac, I guess is how you're going to say that name. Like I said, they're expecting their first child.
I would say lucky boy.
Yeah, I would also say lucky boy. That's a good way to put it. They are engaged to be wed. They're going to get married later on this year. So
yeah, you have the baby first and then get married.
Then you get married.
Sounds like the Press family.
That's how it goes. And Jason Collins of the Brooklyn Nets, we told you last week he had signed on for a 10-day contract.
Yeah.
He is going to be offered another 10-day contract tomorrow.
Come on.
He hasn't had a great run of things. They looked at his stats. He's played in 4 games, or let's see, he's played 34 minutes in 4 games, totaling 4 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and 10 fouls. So he's not having the best run here. So they're just saying, we'll give you another 10-day contract, see how you do there.
But what do you want? He's gay.
Well, look.
Oops. Just kidding.
We'll see if he can turn this into a long-term contract. But for now, it looks like tomorrow they're going to offer him another 10-day contract.
Oh, I think that's ridiculous.
It can't do much for your confidence.
No, it doesn't. He got a great reception last night.
He did his first home game. But if we're going to judge everybody equally here, if you had another player that came out and put up numbers like that, you wouldn't offer them a long-term contract.
Fisher cut bait. I mean, this idea of 10 days at a time is ridiculous.
I wouldn't say that because they would probably cut bait. If they were really looking at this from a business standpoint, they'd probably cut bait.
I just want you to know you all are on a 10-day trial. What kind of BS is that? When you were hired, I didn't say I'll give you 10 days and see how you do.
Yeah. I assume I have 10 minutes.
Yeah. You're on the clock, buddy. You're on the clock.
Don't push your luck.
Yeah.
12 minutes now after the hour. So a lot of excitement this week. Lots to talk about, Jeremy. On the media front, we all loved watching the Oscars. Stayed up late Sunday night. 12 Years a Slave gets the Best Picture. And, of course, Rush Limbaugh says it only won because it has the word slave in its title.
The magic word. It's always been, we've always associated the word slave or slavery with good things. Right. I mean, it's such a bizarre thing for Rush Limbaugh to say, but it is one of those moments where at Media Matters we just sit there and wait. We're like, well, we know it's coming, and Rush Limbaugh delivers. And I mean, this idea that somehow this film, it's been lauded by critics, it's won every award it's been nominated for this season.
It's a fabulous film, which he probably never saw.
I'm sure. I think he admitted that he said he hadn't seen the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. But somehow this was just some political award because it was a film dealing with slavery. That's the Rush Limbaugh worldview that somehow that this is just all about patting ourselves on the back.
It's the only reason Obama was elected, because he's black and we have guilt about black people, and the only reason this movie won is because it's about slavery and we have guilt about slavery. That's the thinking. But it just. I don't get it. I mean, like, Republican politicians should stop talking about rape. And Rush Limbaugh should stop talking about race.
Yeah.
How many times has he gotten in trouble?
Not enough, actually, because if you go back and look at the rhetoric, I mean, the extent to which he's ever in trouble isn't grand enough. I mean, we express outrage and we express shock, and certainly he's lost a lot of advertisers over the years because of this. But
who is the Eagles quarterback?
The Donovan McNabb situation, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that drove him off television, but it's still like we're 10 10, 15 years since that moment. Maybe not that long. My math is a little bit off
No,
here.
it's been about probably
it's been a while
15
for
years.
instance, sort
I
of
think
the
you're about
Donovan
right,
McNabb situation. But here we are, 15 years, 10 years down the road, and Rush Limbaugh is still dabbling in this type of toxic rhetoric.
Mhm.
I don't know what it's going to take.
Now, meanwhile, Fox News has discovered a new issue to beat President Obama up about, and it's called Benghazi. You'd think it's a new issue if you watch Fox, right?
I mean,
every freaking morning on Fox and Friends, it's something new about Benghazi and the stand-down myth that they continue to.
The stand-down myth. Yesterday, you can't make this up. It's March 2014. Yesterday, Fox was reporting on new questions over who edited the talking points. I mean, this has been asked and answered over and over and over again by independent investigations. By
the talking points given to Susan Rice.
That's right.
Right after the attack.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Susan Rice was put out as an administration official to talk about what we knew at the time, just days after the attack, during an ongoing investigation. She's relying on talking points that were given to her by the intelligence community, saying this is what we know at this moment in time. Fox still wants to have congressional hearings and investigations into who edited those talking points. I mean, this has never been about figuring out a way to keep our ambassadors and our diplomats safe overseas. This has always been about finding a cudgel that they can use to hammer Barack Obama, Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton.
But they even, Fox, boast about the fact almost that they take credit for the fact that this is still an issue in Congress, right?
Oh, they certainly do. And members of Congress credit Fox for keeping the story alive. It's this like sick cycle. We saw this weird moment of candor over the weekend. Chris Wallace was interviewing Darrell Issa and pointed out that fact checkers have said, that fact checkers have looked at this and said you have no evidence. And so you get the sense that Fox actually knows there's nothing to this phony scandal except for the fact that they can use it as a political weapon. Because that's Fox's endgame, is to come up with political weapons that they can use to hammer progressives.
Mm-hmm. Well, they seem to have another political weapon now, which is, I think it's Benghazi. It's the second round of Benghazi, and that is Crimea, the Crimea. We've heard John McCain and we've heard Lindsey Graham not attack Vladimir Putin, but attack President Obama because it happened on Obama's watch. And of course, let's keep the focus here on Fox. Fox invites in last night on Sean Hannity, the leading Republican foreign policy expert who knows everything that's going on in Russia because she can see it from her front porch, remember? Here she is, the one and only Sarah Palin.
People are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
That's Obama's fault.
Yeah.
This is the same Benghazi line of attack.
Well, this creates this interesting dynamic where the conservative movement, right, which bows down to the altar of Reagan, now is looking at, they're now the pro-Putin crowd, right? They think Putin has something. He has that certain special thing.
He's macho.
Yeah, there's the
he takes the he rides horses.
Yeah, that's right. There's this image, there's video on
Bareback.
Fox Nation, right? Fox Nation is kind of the Fox version of Drudge Report. And it has that image of a shirtless Putin saying, watch what macho looks like or something. What is this? This has nothing to do with actually diving into the nuances of this foreign policy issue and what's happening in international relations. This is just, again, this red meat that they can use to bash the president.
Yeah, over and over now.
Yeah, with Sarah Palin.
With Sarah Palin. But yeah, as I said earlier, I blame her because if she can see Russia from her front porch, she should have known ahead of time that they were moving troops to the border.
That's right.
And she should have let us know.
An intelligence failure in Alaska.
Exactly. Back here at home, Hillary. The media just cannot help itself but write about Hillary. Every day. I just saw another one yesterday, yet another poll about how she would rank in 2016 against Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, and Jeb Bush, and all of them. You've written on Media Matters about a post that came out yesterday in the New Yorker.
That's right. There was a post. Jill Lepore on her blog over there at the New Yorker wrote about where Hillary Clinton is in the polling, looking back at where she was in 2006. But has this line that, okay, fine, Hillary Clinton was polling well in 2006, obviously did not secure the nomination in 2008. She's polling well now. And then has this throwaway line, says but Hillary Clinton is seen by a lot of people as untrustworthy and perhaps unethical. That's a pretty serious claim to make. If a lot of
by the way, she's unethical and
right, just incidentally, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No evidence. She cites no evidence to support this. Now, this is problematic journalistically. If you're going to make a statement like this, you have to back it up. Looking back at some polling data back in 2006, right? Jill Lepore is interested in Hillary Clinton's polling in 2006. An ABC Washington Post poll looked at this and said a majority of Americans at the time thought Hillary Clinton was extremely trustworthy. So when the question is asked, we see something a little bit different than what Jill Lepore is throwing out there. But what she's doing is tapping into this media mythology, right? Hillary Clinton in the media is largely a stock character. And so when she comes into the public news, we go back to those same old tropes. And it's hugely problematic because, again, the evidence often undermines the claims that are being made.
Right. So what stuns me about this is I'm a big New Yorker fan, read it regularly, and I've subscribed for a long, long time. David Remnick is a damn good editor. Now, maybe there's a different standard for the blog than there is. That phrase would never have I'm convinced, would never have made it into the magazine.
Yeah.
They're known for their fact-checking. It's like, over the top almost, their fact-checking.
No, and it highlights, I think, what you're pointing out here, Bill, is it highlights that a problematic dynamic right now in the media because you do have this rush, right, to stay into the current conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So documents from the Clinton Library released on Friday. I'm sure there's pressure to have something to say about it, so put it on the blog. That creates a lot of vulnerabilities in the media. And so, again, when these tropes and these stock characters exist, it's very easy to just rely on them and throw it in there. And if you had done your homework, if Jill Lepore had done her homework, I suspect she might have written this differently, but she didn't write it differently, and we have to deal with how it exists.
Well, I hope that's a red flag to the people at the New Yorker, too, that their blog can't be, just irresponsible and their magazine continue its reputation for being so careful on fact-checking. Lots of media stuff to talk about. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. I want to ask you when we come back about those Clinton papers. Jeremy Holden, Research Director for Media Matters, MediaMatters.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Look, the worst part about business.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, 26 minutes after the hour, Jeremy Holden here in studio with us from Media Matters, MediaMatters.org. Check it out, a whole treasure trove of stories every minute of every day about what's the latest in the media. It's some stuff you might have missed. Jeremy, let's say hello to Amanda calling on WCPT out in Chicago. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, good morning.
Right,
I just wondered, when would it be fair game to start calling Fox News and Republicans unpatriotic? I mean, if you're going to promote Putin and bash the president, I remember none of us were allowed to do that when, I protested the Iraq War under Bush. It's just very frustrating.
It is frustrating. They certainly, thanks, Amanda, for the call. What do you think, Jeremy? They're on the borderline of being unpatriotic.
Well, I think there's a lot of value in pointing out that type of hypocrisy that Amanda points to, and pointing out that this was you set out the line, when we can point out that Fox News drew the line and said this is what you cannot do, like this goes too far. And if you can show Fox violating its own rules about how to criticize a president in terms of foreign policy, there's a lot of value there.
Now, I think it would have been wrong to blame George W. Bush, which I never did, for September 11, right? He was president, No, they didn't attack us because they thought he was weak and indecisive, right? I thought it would be wrong to blame George Bush for not going to war over Georgia when Putin invaded Georgia. But yet Republicans who defended Bush at that time, right, they have no problem blaming what happened in Crimea on Barack Obama, saying because he was weak and indecisive.
Well, that's right, and now they're in a pickle, and we heard this on Fox yesterday, trying to justify why they didn't blame Bush then, but they're going to blame Obama now. So they understand that there's some tension there, and they're trying to explain it away, and it's not really working.
Yeah, lots of luck. Thanks for your good work, Jeremy. Thanks for coming in.
All right, thanks for having me.
Great to see you.
This is the Bill Press Show. TawkrTV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's 33 minutes after the hour. This is a Tuesday morning, Tuesday, March 4. Good morning, everybody. And welcome back to the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital. Still digging out from yesterday's snowstorm, but for the most part, everything is back in operation today. Congress is back in session. You know things are in pretty good shape if Congress is in session. If they had any excuse at all to shut down the federal government, they would again. But the buses are back and running. Metro is running. The Congress is open, and we are here, because we were here yesterday, too, in the middle of it all. And we're brought to you today by the International Association of Machinists, the good men and women of the Machinists Union under President Tom Buffenbarger, shaping America's edge on the global economy. For more information, visit their website at goiam.org. President Obama on the road today talking about his budget. Big event last Thursday in the White House where he launched a program very important to him, very personal to him, called My Brother's Keeper, to help young black men in this around the country stay in school, get a job, be able to hopefully realize the American dream with some special help from the public and private sector. Jamelle Bouie's been writing about this and other good topics for the Daily Beast, staff writer, joining us on our newsline this morning. Hello, Jamelle. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good to have you here. What's the president? Let's talk about Brother's Keeper. What does he hope to achieve by this, and how?
Yeah, so it's modeled after several programs in New York and a couple other programs around the country, where a combination of government, private, foundation partnerships sort of invest in job training, invest in sort of the kind of training you would need if you are a young person of color from like a poor neighborhood, to help reach a more middle class lifestyle, to go to college, to have opportunities outside of your neighborhood, outside your home. So the idea is that you can sort of, if you expand this program to include, maybe a couple thousand people, a couple tens of thousands of people, you can really make a difference in improving their prospects and life outcomes.
Well, I mean, is it a matter of like handing out vouchers or handing out checks?
No,
go ahead.
It's more a case of sort of developing like community programs. So, for example, having in the program that President Obama has been personally involved in, having kids, go to museums, go visit colleges, meet on a regular basis to talk about their lives, about school, to sort of have an environment where achievement is expected and encouraged.
Well, I must say, I'm somewhat of a skeptic. I realize how important this is and how critical it is and how serious the problems are, particularly among young African-American men. But since I've been involved in politics, right, I keep hearing politicians promise they're going to do more for young black men, right? And I never see it happen. I mean, why should we believe this program is going to make any difference?
Well, I'm not sure. So I think the question of whether it's going to happen, whether it's going to make a difference, are two different ones. I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference, just because the problems faced by many young men of color are very difficult to address, are tied to longstanding inequities, are the kind of things you can't just fix with, going, like, visiting a college or so on and so forth. But I do think that this will happen in part because President Obama is using his capacity as president to really rally foundations and private citizens to donate money. And there's a large, I wouldn't say large, but there's a substantial sort of part of the philanthropic world that is really working on these issues and does have existing programs. And so this is sort of like a horizontal integration to reach more people.
I was at the White House Thursday when the president announced his program, and I ran into Mayor Rahm Emanuel from Chicago. And the president cited the mayor's program in Chicago as one of the models in which he based this My Brother's Keeper program. What do we know about the program in Chicago? How has it shown success?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's shown the kind of broad success that we're probably hoping for, but I do know that the particular young men that President Obama was working with who are in Chicago's program have, in fact, done very well. So my guess is that they're looking at that. They're, again, looking at similar programs in New York. They're looking at the efforts in urban centers across the country to bring opportunity to young men of color, and hoping that this, $200 million 5-year project to really build up those programs will make a difference.
And at this ceremony in Thursday at the White House, the president talked in very personal terms, identifying with these young men. I want to hear that clip again, and then I'll get your comments on the other side. Here's President Obama.
I made bad choices. I got high without always thinking about the harm that it could do. I didn't always take school as seriously as I should have. I made excuses.
What does it mean, Jamelle, to these young men to hear the president of the United States say, basically, at one point, I was right where you are? Must be pretty powerful, huh?
I think so. I think it can be very powerful. In the same way that it's powerful, I think, to have anyone of that stature to really personally identify with you and your circumstance. I think it's worth noting as observers that, one of the big differences between President Obama and the kids he's talking to is that President Obama ultimately was growing up in a middle-class household in a middle-class area. And, he could make those mistakes in the same way that most middle-class kids can make those mistakes and not have to worry about his life outcomes being derailed. And if these kids have to worry about their life outcomes being derailed, it's I think it's less about the choices they make or these particular choices getting high. I grew up in a suburb, and I can't even count the number of my my high school classmates who spend a lot of time getting high. They're now perfectly functional adults. They live in environments where even the slightest mistake ends up completely derailing their life chances. And I'm not sure that's a problem that takes a lot more than even an ambitious philanthropic program can do.
Yeah, one related story, we're talking again to Jamelle Bouie, who is a staff writer for The Daily Beast, thedailybeast.com. I have a lot of friends over there. It's a great site, putting out great work on many different topics and issues. I saw, Jeremy, Jamelle, I'm sorry, whether you were involved with this story, about the question of Medicaid, which, of course, is a key element of Obamacare, and one key way of helping the poor and the middle class, certainly, and Republican governors still resisting expansion of Medicaid in their states. Is that, I guess, do we see any, in this midterm election year, any chances that some governors are going to say maybe this is not a smart thing to do and get on board with expansion of Medicaid?
I don't think so, because the Republicans you'd be counting on would be red state Republican governors, and they just have no real political incentive to do so. If they're ambitious, if they're aiming for the presidency, then this is something that could harm their credibility with the right wing. In their own states, they face very vocal Republican bases that see any sort of expansion of Medicaid as basically accepting the Affordable Care Act wholesale. I think the only place where you could possibly hope for Republican governors to expand the program are Republican governors in blue states. And there, I actually think most of them have either done so or are going along that path.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, just jumping in. You have the head of the Republican Governors Association, Chris Christie, right? He's on board, and then John Kasich, hardly a liberal, right, in Ohio, key state for Republicans. He's on board with the expansion of Medicaid. You would think for those two governors, the others would say, "Okay, this is safe territory."
I think the circumstances are different. Like Chris Christie is the governor of a very blue state. John Kasich is the governor of a swing state, a purple state, but one that has very deep blue pockets, and one where you can pursue this kind of policy and still kind of maintain your popularity and your political standing. It's different. I mean, it's different for red state Democrats who have to find some way to persuade their constituents that this is a good idea. And if you're someone like Nikki Haley in South Carolina, who's already established her opposition, or Rick Scott in Florida, who walked back his, you still have to deal with the fact that you have Republicans who see this as basically verboten. There's nothing that their states can do that they can't afford it, that it won't actually help anyone.
No, and again, and as we know, that program for the first 3 years is 100% funded by the federal government. So I guess the old adage, right? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, and that's proven true on this. Hey, Jamelle, thanks so much. Good to have you with us. Sorry I didn't make it in the studio. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Jamelle.
Yeah, thank you.
Jamelle Bouie, Daily Beast staff writer, thedailybeast.com.
This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go with 13 minutes now before the top of the hour on the Bill Press Show this Tuesday morning, March 4. A little update on the Ukraine. John Kerry has arrived in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. He arrived with $1 billion in economic aid to the new government of Ukraine, making a very strong statement, of course. But just by his presence and by the $1 billion, no doubt about whose side we're on. We will stand with the people of Ukraine, with the new government of Ukraine, and continue to put the pressure on to Vladimir Putin to withdraw Russian troops from the Crimean Peninsula, which is part of the Ukraine, and cease the Russian occupation of Crimea. And the president's still pushing for sanctions, trying to get our European allies to agree with the United States on tough sanctions against Russia. And Congress, coming back in session today, will no doubt have in front of it plans to or proposals to increase American aid even beyond the $1 billion to the new Ukrainian government. Peter, you also have some breaking news.
More important than
breaking
Russia.
News here on the
anything else.
Show.
We do have some breaking news. Breaking news. ABC on Good Morning America just a few moments ago announced the new cast of this season of Dancing with the Stars. The washed-up actors and celebrities that show up.
I'm not sure. I can stand this again. Let me see. Tom DeLay is coming back.
Tom DeLay. I'm sorry. No Tom DeLay. No Tucker Carlson.
Bristol. Tucker? No, Tucker.
No Tucker. No
Tucker.
Bristol.
No, Bristol Palin.
In fact,
no.
I don't see any political people on this list. Here are just a couple of names that I recognize. Some throwbacks. If you grew up in the 90s, you remember Candace Cameron and Danica McKellar, who was on the Wonder Years. They're both going to be on it. Billy D. Williams is going to be on it. Lando Calrissian himself from Star Wars and other movies will be on it. Drew Carey from The Price is Right will be dancing.
No. Oh, no.
Fresh from the Olympics, both Meryl Davis and Charlie White, the duo.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be dancing with separate partners. So they're going to be competing against each other after all these years.
On skates? Or
Not on skates. Not on skates.
They've
a lot
been
of other
together
names.
14 years.
Yeah, they've been together for a long time, but they're not going to be dancing with each other.
Aww.
They should. Dancing with each other.
I think that if they really wanted to throw a wrench into the game show, they'd have them dance with each other.
That'd be spectacular.
Yeah, but they're not.
Okay.
They're not.
By the way, the rest of them, it's a pretty lame group.
Well, this show is, it's always been like
I'm
C-D list actors, right? They're not getting big names.
I'm just amazed the show has lasted as long as it has. When it was launched, I thought this is going to bomb. But
you know what it is? It's a freak show factor, and you wonder how you think to yourself, I haven't heard these names in so long.
Yeah,
it would be. It's interesting to watch them. I don't watch the show. This is not a defense of the show by any stretch, but I could see that there is sort of a train wreck accident aspect of what. Oh, Diana Nyad is also going to be on it. The swimmer.
Yes.
Oh,
really?
From, Cuba to Florida. So there you go.
They bring these athletes in. It's like fish out of water.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, with Diana Nyad, it is fish out of water. One other thing, we will tweet this out. My column in the Hill newspaper today is on the recent dump last Friday. The dump of Clinton papers. These are 4,000 pages of documents from the Clinton released by the Clinton Library. Part of a total dump of 30 to 35,000 pages, documents from the 8 years of the Bill Clinton presidency, which everybody's been so excited about, a lot of people in the media, and they've been diving through the dumpster. That's what it is, like dumpster diving, looking for little tidbits about Hillary Clinton. As you know, let me just tell you, read my column, you'll find out. We tweeted it out. So at BP Show, or you can find it at thehill.com. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. Nothing certainly worth reporting. So here are like the 4 highlights of the Clinton papers so far, what they say about Hillary. At first is that before she went to Beijing to give that famous speech at the women's conference there back in 1995, she was advised by one of our aides, Lisa Caputo, to appear with Dan Rather to show taking the lead on women's issues. Woo! Wow. Okay. Another one was that To soften her image, Lisa Caputo also suggested at one time that she might appear on the Home Improvement Channel with Tim Allen.
Oh, the TV show?
The TV show.
Yeah.
The TV show, right. Okay, well, hello, is that like, this is big news, right? These are supposed to give you insights in what a Hillary Clinton presidency would be all about.
I find that nugget interesting,
but
what?
Yeah, but she didn't do it.
Right.
Right. Michelle Obama's been on every
countless shows,
day show and night show there is, nighttime show there is. Another thing is when she was planning on running for the Senate, she was advised to not to look defensive when talking to reporters, to look real. And maybe the biggest surprise of all is when she was pushing the health care bill through Congress, she realized there could be political trouble if they didn't get the health care bill passed in 1993. Guess what? She was right. It didn't pass, and Democrats lost control of the Congress in 1994. Just want you to know what the big news is out of the Clinton papers. Reporters who are writing this, God, breaking news. Alert the Pulitzer Prize Committee. God. I'll come back with some real good journalism, my parting shot for today.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, you know I love politics. I've been at it for a long time. But there's a time when partisan politics ought to be set aside, and this is certainly one of them. But Republicans can't help themselves. many Republicans, led by John McCain and Lindsey Graham, are going out of the way to blame what's happening in Crimea on President Obama. If only Obama had bombed Syria, they say, then Putin would not have felt free to invade Crimea, which is pure hogwash. There's nobody to blame for the invasion of the Ukraine except Vladimir Putin himself. And if President Obama had bombed Syria, we'd be in the middle of a third war in the Middle East right now, which we can't afford and which Americans simply would not want. You know, I guess my question is, can't all Americans just pull together behind our president and condemn Vladimir Putin? Or is that just too much to ask of John McCain and Lindsey Graham? And Sarah Palin, by the way. Just asking. Hey, folks, have a great Tuesday. We'll count on seeing you right back here again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.